Hi, Kingdom Dresser Summit. My name is Matthew Charles. I'm a poet, and I'll be doing a poem called Eating Habits that I wrote for Madison churches, inspired by some things that happened to me this summer. And this piece, if I was going to really boil it down, it's about the effects of misleadership and how it's a chain reaction, and we see that with Paul chastising Peter about his eating habits. It's not just that you're affecting this room, but the room that you're in is then going and doing things as a product of your misleadership as well. And so um, this poem, Eating Habits, is about misleadership and the weight that places on the leaders and the led. And yeah, I was gonna memorize this piece, and I prefer to work that way, but the content is just too heavy and it's too fresh, really, for me to be able to do that in a mentally healthy way. So I'm gonna read this to you guys, and it's gonna be hard for me to read, and hopefully it's hard for you to hear as well. I think that this point that we're in as a church, uh, nationally, globally, is we need to be hearing hard things and processing and discerning them. And so, um, my brothers and sisters, this is an offering, a gift to you all, and I hope you receive it with open hearts. In Jesus' name. Life ain't nothing but a scary movie, and spoiler alert, the black man dies in the end. We knew it was coming. It was scripted. Just like Jesus, he was exactly what his country needed. I heard him on a street corner preaching before the police found him. He was indicting white America, saying, if this is your worship, it's worthless. You celebrate the birth of baby Jesus, but the tyrant you elected is the reason he needed to flee to Egypt in the first place. I've known supposed missionaries in this city who asked me what people group I feel called to, who then laughed in my face in public when I said black people. Because real liberation is laughable to a people who think mandated mask wearing in the middle of a global pandemic is oppressive. Jesus was lynched. I mean, niggas been crucified. Our bodies bearing the sins of an unrepentant nation. Does God forgive the callous? Does God still hear the prayers of slave descendants asking for freedom? Lord, how come my what? Lord, how come white Christian America don't know its social location? They ain't Israel, they're Rome. They turn black bodies into candles, wax statues in museums they themselves snuff the light from. So fuck I look like being hopeful. The one who said he'd free us is dead. End of story. The government MLK'd him, most dangerous Jew in the country. It's historic fact. They assassinated him. Then had the arrogance to adapt his religion. The good news now is if you become more like white men, you too can be saved. Content yourself with the current world order, and you'll one day go to a heaven where you'll sing of the glory of the white robes of white Jesus. If your heaven was a mile away, I'd peek over the fence and ask its residents if it's segregated. Years ago, my adoptive white ex-nun, Fox News watching mother asked her black son, me, what if there's a race war? Whose side do I choose? Mama, ain't no generals enlisting 66-year-old female foot soldiers. And aside from that, mama, why are you more allegiant to white power than to global liberation of the oppressed? Who is your Jesus? And how and who did he live to save? I told a friend of mine Jesus wasn't white. And she said, what do you mean he wasn't white? I said, how could a white boy hide in Egypt? Or is Egypt white too? And it's funny until it's not. And to me, it never was. See, that's the reason for my first apostasy at age 17. How do I trust a church who's more interested in reinforcing white American exceptionalism than loving its neighbor? The head of a missionary organization asked me last summer, "Have you forgotten about Jesus? It seems like you've made all this black stuff your God." And I wanted to tell them how each time I marched in protest, my body became a living prayer. But how I, after being choked out in Ferguson by a cop on video while literally praying, was starting to doubt if God was listening to any of my prayers about black stuff. Now, I want to tell him how I almost apostatized in September of 2020 after his missionary org callously evicted me from their housing in the summer for speaking out against the racism in their organization. Because if black people aren't a priority for God, God ain't a priority for me, honestly. And honestly, after writing those lines, I had to stop and ask Jesus if it was okay, because I ain't trying to badmouth nobody. I'm just a Paul telling Peter the effect of his eating habits. And Jesus answered, in that still small voice of his, "This piece is actually supposed to be about lament. This is your real lament. You don't have to hide it anymore. You can speak it candidly. Lord, I've been hiding my lament from the church for too long. And I've been hiding because I know how the story ends." Spoiler alert. Cops kill the black man, Martin Luther King Jr., and Jesus. Lord, if our death is certain, may it at least be like yours, holy and revolutionary. Church, when you hear my lament, I'm hoping you will be anything but the cause for it.